Welcome to
Okay.
the, well, technically it's week 4 of Strategy Wars, I think, or week 3. I'll lose count. Time flies. Time flies when you're making profit. Just
Week
kidding.
three.
Amen to that.
It's the end of week three that we're in here. The
Yeah,
last week of the official season before we get into playoffs, which is kind of exciting. We can talk about that a little bit too. But
true.
um, this is your guys' time to talk, like I said. So please do let us know if you want to share anything or if you're like taking a minute to like you want to bring up your charts or show something. Please do. We're all here just to kind of help answer any questions. But we will kind of fill you in. I guess we'll let Jay fill you guys in a little bit about what this week's looking like now that we're in Friday of the end of the third week of the regular season, and then what to expect going into playoffs next week. And then we'll kind of pass it over to you guys to talk if you want. You can talk about how your week went. If you have questions, you want to talk about how the experience is going for you, whatever you guys want. This is your time to kind of like talk openly with just people who are in strategy wars. So Jay,
Yeah, so I mean,
what's going on with week three?
I'll quickly breeze through it because I've been discussing it in the recap videos in the rules section of the Discord. But today is the final day of the regular season, and we'll be starting playoffs next week come Monday. It doesn't change anything as a trader. You'll still be submitting a profitable day. It's just that instead you might have a chance of elimination now. If you finish in Strategy Wars, there's 6 teams. So the top 2 teams will get a bye into next Wednesday. So you get to basically not have a chance to lose the first 2 days. So congratulations to those teams that I will determine later today. But the other 4 teams will be duking it out Monday and Tuesday. And even if you are on one of the first place team or first or second place teams that has a bye, you can still submit for Monday and Tuesday for your individual points. Same thing for Concept Wars. So there's only 3 teams. So the number 1 team will get a bye, and the other 2 teams will be playing in that first round as well. But really cool stuff. And also, yeah, I'll kind of stress this. So for funded trials and funded challenges, that you have to, I don't want to say you have to pass today, but in order for it to count to your overall team score later today, you would have to pass today. But if you pass later, that's completely fine. Still submit it. It'll go in the personal records, but it'll just count for like your individual score and not really for your specific team. Playoffs are literally just trader points versus trader points. There's nothing, there's no twist, nothing gimmicky in there. But yeah, from there, I think last time we talked, Ken had passed a funded challenge with Apex, and then literally yesterday, right, or 2 days ago, you passed another one. So congratulations to you.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was a that was
congrats.
that was
That's exciting.
Apex. It is exciting because
Awesome, Ken.
I
yeah,
know,
it's
2 of
exciting.
them. Oh, you're making me feel bad now. I totally forgot about it. I forgot that today was the deadline until yesterday. And then I kind of, as Dora was saying here, I kind of was like, well, YOLO it. But then I was like, no, Christina, you don't do that. That's a really bad idea. I was like, it's a horrible example to set. So I'm not gonna YOLO the Apex account that I'm working with. But I definitely got distracted and sidetracked with like my live account just because for me that's real money, and like I live off of that, so that's my real income. So I definitely got sidetracked with like that account and building that up, and I kind of like just let the futures one sit for a minute, but then I was like, oh, in playoffs, I'll do it. And then I thought it would count for more points, and I forgot that I forgot the twist that me and Jay made up as myself. So then yesterday I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot. So
Well,
congrats,
it's not
Ken.
it's
I
not
wish I
like
would
you're
have
not
done it.
busy.
No, I know, and you know what? But I was just like, man, I thought I had like a strategy in my head to get more points during playoffs and like help the team with like a passing during then, and like I've been holding it, and then it totally just smacked me in the face yesterday when Jay was like, "No, tomorrow's the last day. Like you knew this," and I was like, "Oh man, forgot." So that kind of sucks. But I'll probably still submit during playoffs anyway, just for I guess personal record. But it doesn't really help extra points. So I'm sorry, Happy Trail. I found you there. But the good news is between Doro, I think, and Reggie, like
Yeah.
Happy
I
Trail's
was about to
killing it
bring
with
that.
funded accounts. So congrats to you guys. Like we have a ton of past funded accounts on Happy Trail, so we're doing good. But for you, Ken, for Route 4, so that's huge. So thank you for contributing to your team. Your team should definitely be hype that they have you this season because
And
two
price
of them is
action, Chris.
awesome.
Put some
And
respect.
price, well, I'm on price action, so I'm hyped to have them. So
Thank you.
all right. But yeah, huge congrats. Anybody else and what else happened this week, Jay? Any other big news that we can talk about? Or anybody else want to share like how their week went? Try and break the ice a little bit so you guys can start talking.
I can talk about my week, but it's the opposite to
Yeah.
what you guys are reporting. I had a really, really bad week. So my strategy is having a little bit of a losing streak, which is fine. Because the way I trade, if you guys saw my markups, I'm looking for liquidity sweeps and then go the other direction. So I often am too soon. So maybe I need 1 or 2 setups before I actually get my trade idea to work, which is totally fine because I have typically above 2R as FPS watch, so it's totally fine. But it tends to have some losing streaks which have to just endure. And right now I'm kind of a little bit like my own social experiment because I'm trading the same thing on my personal account and on a FTMO trial account for StratWars. And on StratWars, I actually lost the account this week because I had, if you look back, I think the last 2 weeks I have been a little bit too cautious with cutting profits and stuff like this, where I could have gotten more if I just stick to my normal trade plan. And this week I was full on confidence. And I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember. I had a very clear bias on USD, DXY, so the index for the US dollar, basically. I was pretty sure it would go a little bit more further up because I saw a big 12-hour order block there and some fair value gaps to close. So a lot of things. Okay, I think DXY is going up, so I would be very bearish on, for example, USD. And I had some really big setups, like 4R, 6R trade setups, and it just did not work. And instead of just looking back, hey, maybe I'm wrong today, I kept on firing on the FTMO trial. That's the funny thing, because on my personal, I just took the loser I meant to take and then stopped trading because that's according to my trade plan. I get a certain amount of tries per setup, and if it doesn't work, I just step back and come back the next day. On the FTMO trial for StratWars, I was completely on fire. Like, okay, I need to make this happen. And the funny thing is, with the way I trade, if the first setup doesn't work, it typically means the next setup will have even a larger risk reward because the price went is going a little bit against me. So since the take profit stays the same, typically because it's a structure type of take profit, each next try would be better than the first one. So I kept on firing, and that actually led me then to yesterday to lose the account, which is kind of a bummer. I didn't think I would ever lose an account ever again. It also shows a difference in risk management because of my personal, I trade with 0.5% max, and on the FTMO trial I was going with 1%, which is a bit too much for my strategy because I am keen to getting those losing streaks because of the way that the trading works for this style. So that's really a bummer. It was very funny because the first 2 weeks of that I was a bit too cautious. This week I was full on confidence and just got schooled by the market.
It's been weird lately, especially with like Iran and the Israel stuff. Not getting into that, by the way, but it's just like that's been making the US dollar go completely crazy. And yeah, it's been a funky month for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you like talking about that because I know it's not just been like, rainbows and sunshine for everybody, especially when the markets get like weird the way they kind of been and a little more unpredictable. Like you don't really know where they're going to go. The US dollar can definitely be like one of those things, especially when there's like, I mean, I'm from the US, I'm going to say it, like we're nosy. Like we put our money and stuff and as a country into things that we don't really know where it's going. So then the US dollar kind of like moves all around, and depending on which news channel you watch depends on which view you're getting. And it's like it can be really difficult to kind of like get a sense of what's going on when it's just like so news focused and not just like so price action focused. And I feel like this week's been a good example where like if you follow news really well, you might have a shot at kind of predicting it. But if you're just like purely using price action, actually, Sen, you're price action, right? Or did you take a concept?
SMC, but it's
SMC, okay,
we're
yeah.
looking at the same thing, right?
Yeah,
On a higher time frame, so
your stuff like reminds me of like I thought you want price action this season, but either way, you're looking at the same idea. Like you're using the market, you're using the previous market analysis versus just like sitting there and like looking at news events and stuff like that. And it can get tough. It can definitely get tough and difficult. Like it's not always the easiest like to follow. And you're not in the US to know if you're following the US pairs, like to know what like is going on with like who we're supporting in these like wars that aren't you know what I mean? Like that's kind of stuff that like it's hard to know to figure out what to even do with. So I mean, I would say don't stress too much over losing the account. I know it sucks, but don't let it get to you too much because I really do think like the last week or so has definitely been out of the ordinary from what you would normally see. So I wouldn't really count this as like a ding against your strategy necessarily. Just kind of make a note of it, like
No, I'm
definitely
not.
a world event is happening at this
Uh,
moment that it's
that's why I
changing.
mentioned that I traded on the FTMO trial for StratWars and on my personal funded challenge. And those two are trade, even though I trade the same ideas, I handle them differently because the one StratWars is for fun, right? So I'm allowing myself a bit more leeway to fire with all bullets basically. And on the paid challenge, I just stick to my rules. So my paid challenge is down, I think, not even 3%. So very easy to recover. While the FTMO just kept on firing, like being a dick. I lost that one. And basically one bad day and then two regular not so good days in a row.
In the
So I
sense
meant
of
I
like,
was like my own social experiment where I'm the same person, but I trade two accounts with the same ideas, but I manage them differently. And the one is doing fine, it's a bit under the water, and the other one is gone.
I was gonna say like if you have like kind of multiple setups in the sense that your personal account you only take the most high quality and then the FTMO is kind of like, well, this is still a good setup. It's just not as good as I would like to take for personals. It was kind of like that kind of scenario.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, with the way I trade, I can often see, okay, this should be a good setup, but if it doesn't work, it's probably better to go to the next day because I'm just not aligned with the markets. And that's something I have difficulties doing with StratWars because I'm highly competitive, and StratWars basically gives you points if you keep on going, if you can make it to the green, right? So
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this last week. I was in the same boat too. Like, and I think competitive side of me like definitely wants to trade every day sometimes. And I was actually just telling Jay this that like that I've had like a really good month so far for myself, but I haven't traded every day. So like I'm not number one on the leadership boards, which like sometimes bugs me because I'm always number two in Star Wars. But anyway, it bugs me
It's in the script,
because it's like
Chris.
because
Like you
it's
can't do anything
me.
about it.
I know, but it's me. Like I'm competitive, and I like even it's not against like even so much against competing against other people in here. It's just like I always want to be like better for myself. So like I kind of understand that from your perspective too, where like you're competitive, and it's not necessarily maybe always in like oh I have to be better than everyone else. It's just like it's just me. Like I hold myself to a certain level. But then I find sometimes with chat wars that I actually end up like hurting myself more because I'll force trades or I'll force myself to like trade more. And I realized that a lot when I did the Tradesmas series that I did last during December and with last strategy wars, and I went back over all my trades, and there was like a decent amount of days where I would like go over what I was thinking in my analysis, and like I know I would have to sit there and be like, I know I shouldn't have taken this trade. Like it might have worked out, or maybe I broke even, but there were like a lot of days where I had like kind of slightly profit or break even days. And it's because I know I was like forcing a situation that really shouldn't have been forced. So this season, I was like, no, I really need to like hold back from doing that. And like, if I just don't have the right setup that day, like I don't have it because I don't trade that way normally. Like if it's not strategy wars, and I don't have my setup for the day, like I'm like, okay, whatever, and I go about my life. But for some reason, strategy wars like brings that out of me. And it's not supposed to, it's the opposite of what it's supposed to do. But I understand where you're saying like it can bring that out of you. So
Can you hear me, guys?
yeah.
Ah,
But
oh.
I had really quick, I just want to ask Sven before we move on. Hi, Dark Fluffy. Sven, do you feel that way though, like with your strategy outside of strategy wars? Or are you like pretty
no.
disciplined? It's just the competition gets to you too.
No, I can tell you right now because I'm trading it on the FTMO trial and as well as on a paid challenge. And those two I handle, even though I take the same trade ideas. I handle them differently. So it's really only Strat
Mhm.
Wars where just it pushes
It
the
gets
wrong
you.
buttons for me. It always has been
Yeah.
with Strat Wars.
Okay. Well, I'm
And
actually glad to hear that. And just because then I don't feel so alone in it sometimes. Because sometimes I feel like, man, am I the only one who like feels like that pressure or forced to kind of trade or like or perform? Like, because I feel like people always want to see like what can I do in Strat Wars, and I feel that pressure sometimes. And then I'm like, this isn't smart though. Like, this is my real life and my real accounts and my real money. And then sometimes like that really sucks when you're like forcing yourself to trade in a situation where you're like, this wouldn't really be something I would even teach somebody to trade or do. And like, it's like, not a good like example. But it's nice to hear from you as like a fellow staff person to know that anyway. All right. Anyway, so good luck with your accounts. I think you're going to turn around. You're going to be fine. We're almost out of Strat Wars. And then you can go back to your nice normal trading and not have to worry about competition. But thank you for opening up about that.
you're welcome.
Dark Fluffy Rabbit. Hi, how are you? Welcome back this week.
Yes.
How did your week go?
Well, in the end, it wasn't bad. I must say, what we talked about just a minute ago, the keeping to your strategy and having to deal with the geopolitical news, that can be a bit of a mess up. I have an example of this morning and evening. I mean, we were looking at the basic news for oil, and the supplies went up, and expected was that the consumption was going down, so oil price was tanking. Then, yeah, suddenly it went quiet during the night, and then Israel fires a rocket, and oil price surges up $3, enormous spike. Then breaks down, and unfortunately I was asleep at that time. And well, you really can't say what it's going to do. I mean, my strategy was totally clear this morning. For example, I was waiting either for a rejection of the upper Asian level or a breakout from the DR IDR, and I got caught in between. I mean, it broke out from the DR to the bearish side, but a few pips away was the upper Asian DR range, and it kept bouncing between that. So I took a few scalps and eventually decided it was not worth risking my capital anymore. And of course, during New York this afternoon, price went up again, as I expected, but I thought since the political tensions were de-escalating, oil would tank further, and instead it went up. So there's really no way you can execute your strategy in a normal way with all this shit going on.
Yeah. At this point, like, I feel like oil is more volatile than crypto because you just don't know what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen. So yeah, it's pretty frustrating. So I can understand your side of that for sure.
Well, I'm not too frustrated with it. I'm just looking and taking in what's happening and picking some sort of decent setups in between. But I know I should let trades run, but under the current circumstances, I don't let them run because it can change any second.
You would normally just let it trail, or do you have like a normal fixed profit like that you've tested before, or have you always trailed?
Yeah, that's one of my current pitfalls. I mean, I know one of the basic principles is you should place a trade, set it to 1.5 or 2 risk return, and then let it go and see what happens. But as I'm reading the market, I quite often see the market behave in a way that I would say, well, I'm not going to let this run because it's going to reverse and then end up in a loss.
Yeah, we
So
We just always kind of defaulted to, I think Chrissy kind of started the trend of just defaulting to 1.5, maybe 2. But I mean, it might not make sense for your strategy. Your strategy, it might be way more profitable and better considered maybe a 3R or like things of that nature. So, um, something to look into for sure to see if the fixed reward has always just done well, especially in oil, because like you might not, maybe like you're well, I'm not saying you're stressing now because now that you're doing the fixed reward and not worrying about trailing, but in the past, like a fixed reward of maybe 2 or 1.5 has just considerably done better than you having to worry about trailing, right? So like it's
Yes.
just something you can consider, because then if a fixed reward is outperforming you having to worry about trailing all the time, like that's just way less stress on your part, more comfortable once you're in the trades at your stop loss take profit and you're chilling.
Yes, yeah, but I think you're right. But yeah, I'm still figuring it out. I should make the switch. I mean, I've been actively trailing my trades and taking profits at points at fair value gaps, or when it broke a previous high or low, and then I got out with a profit. I'm having what is it, 85% win rate with this. And the losses I took are mainly during having a tilt day. So I think my plan for after strategy wars is just to switch to a fixed setup and just see what happens over a month.
And
I mean,
and for the record, I'm not saying that trailing stop can't work, because it definitely can, and like taking partials can work too. It's just kind of, it's personal preference, but from what I found personally is that every time I try and trail, I will still trail some trades, but I feel like whenever I start trailing more and more, I get more greedy. Like I get greedier and greedier in the sense that like I want to hold for as long as I can, and it's just sometimes it hurts me more than it helps. It just kind of like it almost feeds more emotion into it when you just start trailing a lot of the times, because then what will happen at times is that it will hit that 1.5 or 2 reward, which is a pretty sizable amount. Like, and then it'll just completely take back to your break even when you start trailing. You'd be like, then you'd be like, oh shit. Like if I were just had a fixed reward, then that starts like the mental, oh, if I were just did this, and then the next time you do a fixed reward, and then it just completely takes off and it dwarfs your like 2R, and be like, oh, if I were to trail, there's always that if we can never perfectly time the market. So it's just how to consistently get that little slice of the pie as many times as you can. It won't be every time, but as many times as you can, get that slice of the pie, grab it.
yes. Well, I think my trading is affected by my goals. I decided I wanted to pass my funded challenges. And I think, well, if you take a small win every day, eventually you will pass the challenge. It may not be optimized trading. I mean, I might have earned more if I played it more by the book. But I think if I have, well, my current profit is somewhere between, say, $100 a day to $600-700 a day. And if I compound that, and as soon as I have my profit target, and I don't mind if it's $100 or $600, but I just quit for the day, and next day is a new chance. And that eventually works very well, because it may be slow, but my account keeps growing.
No, I think well, back when it mattered, whenever you had like a certain time period that you had to pass, like a phase 1 or phase 2, it was as simple as, because usually you get around 20, well, 20 at the least, 23-ish at the most of actual trading business days in a month. And even if we go with like the minimum of 20, if you make 0.4% every single day, that's 8% in a month. And like people kind of like, well, 0.4%, that's not really all that much. Granted, sometimes you'll lose a day and you'll win a day, but if you can average like 0.4 a day, that's 8%. And then 0.5, just one more point, like 0.5, it's 10% in a month. So yeah, like that route, I mean, if that's sustainable for you and that you find that as an edge, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Because it's not about how can I gain more reward? It's about how can I consistently execute a trade where I can like win one trade a day, or not even a day, just come out positive in a week. Because everybody's always worried about, oh, I need to get like $100, $200. I'm not, well, I'll say everybody, but in the sense of it's not about trying to get that huge trade. It's about finding how to sustainably like get those 10, 20, 40 pips or points every now and again, and then expanding your capital. Because you might make 1% in a day or even 0.5% a day. But if you have 4 or 5 accounts copy trade to that, that's now 2 to 2.5% you just made off of that 0.5. So it's just it's about minimizing your drawdown at the end of the day. It's not about trying to get crazy rewards and crazy amount of wins in a month.
That's what I found too. I mean, your goal is to preserve your capital and to grow your capital. And of course, the goal is also to place the perfect trade and let it run and hit your take profit. But I think those things are often opposed to each other. I mean, you should have placed and executed the trade perfectly, but you didn't. But you did add to your account that day, and that little win and the little win of tomorrow and the slightly bigger win of the day after that compounds to at least 0.5% a day.
Those consistent low wins every single day, though, aren't sexy. The end result is, but when they figure out that what do you have to do in order to get there, then everybody's like, I want to find something that will give me $100 in a day. But in the chat, Duro had asked, we have points leaders and we have profitable day leaders for future strategy wars. Would you consider doing percent gain leaders? There's a chance, because as much as I want to believe y'all, I know I can believe majority of y'all, but there will always be rotten eggs in here. And as of now, it would just take too much manpower to actually be able to hold everybody accountable, because there are always certain people, and me and Christy know this going through it. Some people try and be sly about it, but we still give people points, but we know like what you're doing. And a lot of people just create multiple demos and just get their one win and then count that as like their profitable submission. So it'd be basically impossible at this current time, as manual as we do it, to do percent gain leaders, because it just I want to be able to do percent gain leaders and win rates. That way, like we can have it to where there's more than just profitable day gets you a point, right? Because it sucks, because I don't want to be trading every single day to get a point. But at the same time, I don't
we
want to
could,
reward cheat.
though.
I don't want to reward people that are cheating the system.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Jay on this. This is definitely a question that we've like go back and forth with every season, because people do ask for this a lot. It's not that it's impossible to do, but you would have to be willing to show like you'd have to basically essentially usually be trading on like one account for us to really, at this point in time, for us to really be able to verify that. So you'd have to show your monthly, like, and you'd have to really be willing to do that. Most people don't do that, or maybe they're on multiple accounts, which it kind of becomes like more complicated for us to have to like pick apart like what account were you on for what days, and like, and I get it, because like the first week I was on like 3 different accounts, and then I stayed stuck on one as I continued through. I think like the 4th on, or something like that, just because I was like, this is just going to get too complicated for people to follow. But like you would have to kind of stick on like a monthly like account, or the other option is, and this is something we are weighing out and still trying to work out. And then I'm hoping, well, Artie just popped on the call and I don't know if he can actually talk or not, but Artie will know what I'm talking about. We are in the works of talking with TradeBlocker, and nothing's guaranteed or promised, so I don't want to like put it out there, but we're hoping that maybe we would be able to get like Strategy Wars kind of hosted through like Trade Locker, where they would like sponsor you guys and you would get demo accounts through them for the people who want to be tracked like that or have that accountability. And then we can go in and actually see your accounts and see what you're truly doing for the whole month. And that was an option that we are looking at, but it wasn't ready for this season. We're hoping maybe for the next one if it all works out okay. But that also does limit the people who are like on futures and stuff like that. So we are reaching out to people, like certain future prop firms, trying to see if anybody also would be willing to do something along those lines, like gift us a bunch of demo accounts where we can go in as like your investor people and like just view your account. We wouldn't touch your accounts. We would just view your accounts to like check the legitimacy. So that way the people who are looking to actually compete on that level, we could truly verify like that they're doing it right and not trying to like game the system. But we're not there just yet. And like, I also don't know if that's really the message we want to give with Strategy Wars. So we're thinking about it in two different ways. Like maybe we would include in Strategy Wars, or maybe we just do a separate competition for people who want to do it that way.
And y'all don't
And
even
like what,
realize what I'm cooking
yeah.
up.
Yeah, so we're thinking about a couple of different ways, but at the end of the season, there's going to be a little poll for you guys to fill out, a questionnaire, and one of those questions will be something kind of like similar to that on there. So if you are interested in doing something like this, or you're like totally against the idea of it, either way, make sure you do fill out that answer on the survey that we give you guys, so that way we know like which way you guys would like us to lean. But anyhow, that's that.
Mr. Artemis.
Who? Who?
Mr. Artemis.
Oh, Artie? I don't know if Artie's able to talk.
He's been having a pretty decent month.
Maybe he
Hello.
can. Oh, hey, Artie, are you able to talk?
Hello.
You missed
Hey.
last week. Do you
Yeah.
want to talk about how your month's going? Because like
Yeah,
you're
so
tied
let me
with
just
me
let
and
me
it's
just
like
go
super
over
annoying.
no, like my internet's ridiculously slow here. I'm on a trip to Oman, so it's like really, really, really bad. But I
Okay.
would like to share my week. My month has been pretty damn good, but this last week, oh my God. Just look at DAX, the German 40 on the daily time frame, and you will see each candle. Like the first one was the most ridiculous falling. It was just like a 20-inch wick and then
Yeah.
opened where it closed. And
Yeah.
every single candle was a doji candle for the week, pretty much. And it was just like I would get into profit like $500 and then move my stop loss to break even because I was just unsure about everything. And I basically closed out this entire week at a little bit in profit every single day. Like my Monday was so bad. I wanted to risk bigger so that I can pass this challenge. So I risked 2% on my first trade. And that went, I hit my stop loss. And then I went in on another trade and it immediately reversed on me. So I got in the opposite way. I was like, I can clearly see the momentum wants to go the other way. So I got, a minus $4,000 trade, a minus $1,500 trade, and then plus 4,800 and then plus 1,500. So I was like overall up $200 for the day. It was a very stressful one. But every single day since has just been immediately, secure my capital, like save it and move my stop loss to break even. So it's just been a break even week for me. And, sometimes that happens, especially with what's going on in the world, as was mentioned earlier. But you can't anticipate this stuff. You can, assume what price action is going to do, but it's literally just you're predicting the future with past results. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. And that's okay. Because if you continue doing it, eventually you'll have, a stellar month and you'll be up 25%. And that's just what you got to wait for. Those really good months really pay off if you just stick to the same thing. So don't get discouraged if you had a shit week like me.
Defense wins championships.
Yeah, so I actually was gonna say that. Like, I know it's
That was a good
frustrating to
one.
break even a lot. Like, that happens to me a lot, and I know the frustration of it. But at the end of the day, you didn't lose your capital. So like, don't get mad about ever securing your trade. Like, that's literally just another chance to get it in the proper direction later. Or like, just say, hey, you know what? Let me walk away for the day. Like, I'm good. I didn't lose anything. It's not like you lost thousands and thousands of dollars and you were revenge trading. So you should actually be pretty proud of yourself for like having the ability to like say, you know what? Let me just stop. I broke even. It is what it is. And sometimes if you're like slightly in profit with those break evens, like they add up. Like people don't always give them enough credit. Like I know you're trying to pass a challenge so it doesn't feel like a lot, like because you're in challenge mode and it's like annoying, but like on your live accounts, like that adds up, like $100 here, $200 there. Like if you're doing that all week long, at
It
the end of the
totally
week, you make
does. I actually
$1,000,
have
you're like, okay, like, okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People don't like they get kind of blind to the money. And so I heard this a long time ago. There's some like old school, like old dude talking about trading psychology, and he's like, put $100 on your countertop while you're trading and realize that that's $100 and what buying power that $100 has. So like I'm always thinking about that. And I have like cash on my, like a $20 bill, even though I can't use it in Poland. But like I see the money and I'm like, okay, this is money. I'm gonna hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
So
don't belittle your break
I'm
even.
not gay for
Or your-
$20. $20.
Yeah, it's something, you know what I mean? So, well, I'm glad you're
Congratulations,
doing
Artie.
good. Yeah, I'm excited to see you doing like as good as you are this season, and I'm also happy because you're a happy trailer. So like obviously that helps me.
Ooh.
But I will say that
Yeah.
it's a little annoying that you're tied with me, like we're the same place on the leadership board. So like you're one of those people where you missed me, but I was like one of those people where like you're the person where I'm like, I really need to trade today because I need to be better than Artie. But no, I'm actually really excited that you're like, you're tied with me. So it's giving me good competition, but it's taking a lot mentally to not over trade to try and like get above you on the leaderboard. But don't do that, guys. This is just a personal challenge
I
between us.
it,
I know.
it was I was genuinely trying to get more like personal points of passing the challenge before the end of the 19th, but I was just like, you know what, dude, I got way too much stuff going on. If I push it, I'm definitely gonna fuck it up because I'm gonna get greedy, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can. You
So
definitely can, which
It
is
still will
why
count towards
you have to
you.
be
And
careful.
I mentioned at the beginning, it just won't count towards your team. But like you'll still show like you passed this season. So
yeah.
you can still pass it. It'll still count for something.
Yes.
I'd rather not risk with the internet connection here. Like enter a trade. Oh,
Uh,
60 points of slippage. Thanks.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, I just mean for the rest of the month. Like after today, it
Yeah.
just won't count to the team, but it still count towards you if you pass like a week or two from now.
I had exactly
yeah.
the same day as Artie, by the way. It was a hell of a day. I opened a trade. It turned against me, and it was $1,400 in loss. So I thought, oh, there goes my strategy wars and my profit. And then I eventually ended the day with $1,445 profit. So in the end, I earned $45 that week, but I did preserve my capital and had a small win.
Amazing, dude. Amazing.
yeah, I'm in the
Ridiculous.
frame of mind that don't give the money back. Don't give the money back to the market, or at least,
Yeah.
have your risk management really dialed in, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, no, I'm huge on that. I'm big
I
on
mean,
that. Like I
I'm
would
not
rather
I'm not
break
I'm not
even
mad at
than
break
be
evens, dude.
the
Like
yeah.
even if it's, say I'm in profit and then it hits my break even, right? And then shoots up, at least I didn't lose. Like I stopped thinking like a year ago about, oh, I could have, oh, I should have. If you look at all of my trades from last week, if I would have held them for another 100 points, I would have made 30 grand per trade. So thinking about would haves, could have, should haves,
Mhm.
don't even get in that realm. It is the worst thing that you can do for your brain. So I'm just like, I got my money. I'm out. I am a profitable trader. That's all that matters.
Yeah, you're trading differently lately, and it's a good thing. A good way.
Dude, it's these PD arrays, man. Like, okay, if anyone has their charts up right now, go to DAX on, let's say, the 15-minute time frame and draw a parallel channel in the most recent downtrend. It is almost perfect. Every single rejection from the top of the down channel to the bottom of it was like a perfect PD array every single time for, I don't know, the first 6 rejections. Beautiful price action. Like I couldn't ask for better price action. That's why probably I did so well this month.
Oh yeah. I've been I've been seeing, I don't trade futures, but I've been looking
Like,
at platinum, and platinum respects trend lines crazy as well. Because that's all parallel channels are. It's just like parallel trend lines.
Two trend lines.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's something
it sounds like a
interesting
good
for the
video
futures
that
beat.
you can make for us, Artie. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Artie,
Yeah.
are you entering on the 15-minute, 5-minute? What's your entry time?
It's 5 minute or 1 minute.
Okay.
If I really know that it's rejecting at that level, like I think it was Thursday last week when it was at the top of the range and then started rejecting down. I was like, it's rejecting here. I need to get in right here. So I dropped it down to the 1 minute. I saw the happy trail signal. I was like, that's my one right there.
Yep.
Because if I would have waited for the 5, it would have been such a huge stop loss, and I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to scalp.
And I think a lot of people, they, they try to go with what Artie does or what Christy does or what Jay does. You have to find what works for you. I mean, you could use what they do as a base and see, test it and see how that works for you, whether it be the time frame you're in, the asset that you're trading. You have to find what's right for you. I have stuck with NAS, the NASDAQ futures. And if you trade it long enough, you can kind of tell what price can do and that kind of thing. And you just have to find what works for you. I mean, it's okay to, if you want to follow what I do or Christy or, everybody, but find what works for you. Where you live matters. Like I said, your time frame, the asset you're trading, it's going to be a little different for everybody.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. I
It's just the
100% agree.
culture.
People
It's
do.
a
Oh,
culture of
sorry.
instant gratification.
Yeah, people do this all the time and they want to follow 100% what I do and they want to do that. But the truth is like, that's never going to work because you're not in my brain and I do price action. So like, while you can follow the strategies we do and you can always check the back testing results and stuff like that, like my analysis has developed over years and years. And like, I trade the same assets for the most part for years and years now. Like, and like Ken just said, the more you trade the same pairs, you do begin to learn how they move. And I know it sounds like kind of like a cop out or a little cliche to say like, well, you'll learn how they move and like you'll get used to them, but you do like you'll learn the depths of their retracements, how they typically move during news things, and like you just start to learn somewhere subconsciously like a little more about how like your pair's algorithm moves a little bit better. That doesn't mean that totally just like excuses you from having to actually strategy test and do all the work that you have to do as far as like creating your strategy, but it's just like you do become a little bit more, I feel like, aware to your specific pairs, like Ken's saying, if you like stick with something long enough. So if you're trying to copy me perfectly, like you're not going to be at that level yet because I've been doing this for years, or Artie, or Ken, who's doing futures now. So I 100% agree with like find somebody that you feel like you identify with their style with. Like to you, when you watch their content, it clicks. Like you have an aha moment where you're like, oh, that's easy for me to understand. And when you watch other stuff, maybe you're like, okay, I'm following, but what? Like, but when you watch one person, it'll click for you. And I know when I was learning, that really was like breakouts for me. Like I really identify, like I can see zones, like I clearly can find them. I can see support and resistance. I can see a breakout and a retest coming. Like that all makes sense to me. But I know for some people, when I try to teach what I see, they're just so lost. I can see like I can't see them, but I can imagine the glazed over look in their eyes because like they're just not figuring it out. And then that's just because zones might just not be their thing. Maybe it is something like something totally different that somebody else might do, like moving averages, or maybe they need fibs or something like that, like something else. And there are so many of us here that all teach different styles now. And all of us can help you. Like just find that person is all I can say. Like don't be so dead set on only one person. Like if you're struggling to see what they're seeing, go look around. There's so many educators and staff here that can help. There's so many different styles too. So and you don't have to trade like what I feel like if I'm on indices, it doesn't mean you have to stay on indices. You can go to futures and trade futures, like Ken's on futures and has made that leap.
I used to trade so many assets at one time because I was afraid I'd miss out on something. I thought I'd get a better chance at this or that. And the best thing I've ever done in my trading career is to just stick with one,
Mhm.
which is the NQ. And it's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. Because when you're done for the day, you go and leave your charts and you come back the next day, you just kind of update yourself on, oh, that's where the market went overnight. Okay. And then you're just back at it. Instead of trying to be like, where was this pair? What's this one? Is there compatibility? It's not so confusing. I feel like sticking with like 1 to 3 pairs when you're learning is like really ideal. If you're a swing trader, maybe you can go higher with your
Mhm.
pairs. You can do more like 3 to 5 because you're swing trading. You might really need to have more opportunity. But if you're like truly day trading every day, you plan to probably sit at the charts at least a couple times a week, like 3, 4, 5 times a week. I really do suggest sticking to like 1 to 3 pairs while you're learning, because otherwise you just get so overwhelmed. You're going to overtrade and it's just going to become like almost a blur. You're not going to really truly absorb what each of those pairs or markets is doing. That's just my advice on that. But
You need to
Anywho.
step back and
Most,
you need to step back and observe yourself. Is all I'm
Yeah.
saying. Because like I feel like a lot of people, especially here, we're trying to switch this as the strategies come along. But everybody just like look back at yourself and like think why you're doing what you're doing. Because a lot of people just get caught in the clickbait of, well, I need this to happen quick. The 1 minute is quick. So therefore I'm gonna get a lot of opportunities and then I
Ugh.
can make quick money. And that is just not the case. Like
No.
I could trade on the 4 hour with like 1 or 2 trades and have complete bliss. Maybe I get 1 or 2 trades in a week, maybe one, maybe zero, but I'm not sweating placing 200 trades a week on a chart. And I think it's just you need to make a detachment from your, I'll say past life, but like it's a life change that you're making because you're going from working normal, and we've all done it. You've gone from working normal 9 to 5s, and you get home, like you do physical work usually, or digital, physical, mental work, whatever it is, and then you come to trading, and now you're subconsciously thinking, I have to do something today to make me feel like I'm becoming a better trader. And that's just not always the case. Like clicking a button and hitting execute when you're not supposed to doesn't, like, shouldn't gratify like you working today as a trader. Like sometimes you not clicking the button is better than you clicking the button. Just
the most amazing thing I experienced was that it's really too simple. I mean, I'm a big fan of Alex and his DR, IDR, and the Asian DR principles, and I just can't believe that it's so simple. I mean, price always reacts in some way at those levels. And I think, well, why are people searching for years for the perfect strategy if it can be this obvious? I mean, and I think that's because most people can't accept that it can be so plain simple that, and they think there must be something else. And but
Well,
I don't think
I
there
think
is.
some, I think some people just don't have the patience, because you have to wait for that price to come back to what you're looking at, and you know what I mean?
Yes.
I look
Sorry, I
at it
didn't mean
as
to
we're
cut you
we're
off.
very often our own enemies too
Maybe.
with that.
everybody has patience. I have to disagree with that. Everybody has patience and everybody has time. It's just whether or not you want to make it a priority above other things in your life. Like you could say you don't have patience, but
I think what they mean is patience, like for the market to come to where it really needs to go. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it. But I think they meant like trying not to jump in too early and like waiting for the market to actually get to where it's supposed to be. Am I wrong in that, guys? You tell me. Maybe is that what you were saying, Ken? Either way.
think so.
You should have, okay, I think the point is like, I mean,
Yes.
I get that. Yeah, I totally understand that because I am definitely somebody who's like, well, I could just put my stop loss a little further. And I do this a lot as a breakout trader because I'm a breakout trader, but I'm also a breakout and retest trader. And there's lots of times where I'll take the breakout, but I know I have to go heavier on my stop loss. Whereas if I just waited for the retest, you can get a nicer stop loss and a better reward. It happens a lot with me, and I will definitely find myself sometimes being a little more impatient. And that can sometimes help you, like, because maybe you don't get a retest, but it also can like bite you in the ass where you could have been like, man, if I would have waited for that retest, I could have gotten a way better reward. That obviously isn't like entering. I know people have an issue with entering just in general. I'm still following my rules, so I don't break them in that case, but I know some people really do break their rules just like, they get the FOMO, they see price running away and they jump in super late and then they have to sit through drawdown or whatever the situation is. But my best advice for this, and I know it's hard to do, but I do think the reason that I'm pretty good at that part of it and not being like breaking my rules part is because I'm actually really busy in the background. So I set alerts, but like during the time where I'm sitting, I'm not just like staring at the chart, like
Yeah,
hyper
that'll
fixated
drain
on it.
you.
I set my alert, I hear my little alert go off in TradingView, like at a certain price area, and then I pay attention to it. And then while the price is running and things are doing its thing, I try really hard not to keep staring at it or looking at it and just like get busy, like checking emails or doing, I mean, obviously the community keeps me busy, but like that really has helped me a lot to like find busy work to do while your trades are running. So you're not just like staring, because when you're staring, even at the 1 minute, like those trades can feel like forever. Like 5 minutes on the 1 minute can feel like forever. And the anxiety and the like, I can't even imagine like the endorphins and stuff like that you're getting with watching price going up and down, up and down, up and down. Like it's got to be crazy. So like, I don't suggest watching your trades if that's the case. If you're somebody who's already finding that you're a little impatient with getting in, because I think that anytime price like goes in a little bit of a movement, you're just going to be freaking out every time.
So Duro,
yeah.
what's been happening on these
Dora,
Fridays?
yes.
Yeah, hey guys. So past 2 weeks, had great weeks. All Monday through Thursday, I've been profitable every day, and then come Friday, I just give away most of my week's profits. And so I think the struggle I'm having is I have my weekly profit goals, which is like 2% is it's a great goal. So last week I didn't hit that profit goal. Starting today, I was at 2.5% profit for the week. I was like, all right, well, I'm at 2.5% today. I want to trade for Strategy Wars, and I want to try to make back the money I lost last week, right? So first trade, enter it. It's a loss. And I was like, all right, no problem. I'm still over that. I'm still over my weekly profit goal. Enter another trade, and it's another loser. At this point, I started getting triggered and tilted a little bit, and I increased my risk, which is the worst thing any of us can do, right? So I'm like, well, shoot, now I have to make up my losses from today and try to get in a profit. Double my risk, and it's a third loser in a row, and now I'm just above in profit for the week. So it's having those weekly profit goals really mess with me, I think.
Yeah, I don't like really giving myself a weekly profit goal. I don't know about you, Chris. I don't think Chris cares. She just always wins. So
Yeah, that's not true. No. I do set goals. And I actually do. I do set goals, and I mean, I actually was just talking to you about this on the phone, Jay, because I was
Yeah,
like,
no.
I have certain goals that I have to stay within in order for like tax season and things like that. So like I wish I could just go ham sometimes in 1 month and just like tear up and just be like done for the year. But like it doesn't really work like that if I want to actually be able to like trade like throughout the year. So like I do have to stay within certain parameters and stuff like that when it comes to like how much I can earn or like how much I want to earn, stuff like that. But yeah, I do set goals. Typically for me, I've talked about this on the podcast and stuff. I like to see like about 5% on if I'm trading a 100K account, which is about $5,000. If I can see $5,000, like I'm happy, like that's good. I don't live an super extravagant lifestyle. Like between that and like other businesses and stuff that I run, like that's more than enough for me to be okay. I typically do more than that, but like that's like I try to set my goal at something realistic. I think when you're saying 2% for like where you're at, that's great to be at. Like that's a very
Absolutely.
like awesome goal to have. If you make 2% like every week, like that's huge. Like you're walking away with more percentage than I even want in a month. So like that's amazing, you know. So like I wouldn't feel too down on yourself if you don't meet that goal. I'm all for setting goals, but also like don't make them so outrageous and always so hard on yourself that you're not meeting them all of the time. Because you know it's not the worst thing in the world to not meet a 2% goal each week. Like that's big to have to do.
I now understand why you brought up that initial question at the beginning of the live. And I completely agree. I don't want people feeling like they have to force trading. And if we have a way in the future, which I hope we do, of being able to like distribute like demo accounts, so like we can hold accountable, we could do percent gains, win rates, whatever, all the like, that'd be awesome. So like in days like today for you for Friday, like you've met your goal, but at the same
Mhm.
time you want to be able to contribute for your team. And so like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you
Switch to a
sit-
demo. I've done it before. Like I've met my goals before where I physically can't go over making a certain amount. And like Jay knows,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, well, Jay, like I can't keep trading anymore. Like my account's will
I
say I'm
literally
done
tell
for the
her
month.
like just
So
literally
like
open a demo, like it's
so
fine.
then I just go open a demo. So like if you know Fridays are becoming a problem, can I ask, because I know what you're posting, but I don't know, like I know you've been posting, I know your futures, just so other people know,
Yeah.
it's futures. And is it mostly just the E-mini for NASDAQ that you're working with, or do you trade
Yeah,
other?
so that's I only trade NAS. I trade on my ETF accounts. I trade the MNQ because I can open larger. I can take more contracts. But on Top Step, they have that contract limit of
Mhm.
I can only open up like 3 contracts at a time. So I have to trade the NQ. So my
Right.
risk is always bigger with my Top Step accounts. But it's
Do you
I
So Fridays have been kind of weird, to be fair. I
Yeah.
mean, they've either been awesome or they've been awful for some people. So
Mhm.
like they've been runaways. I feel like the last few weeks, like they're just, I mean, the market in general has been kind of a runaway, but like I feel like Fridays particularly, and I've actually talked about this in the past too. Fridays in general, I personally like, but that's because I find they trend so well with indices.
Yeah, I've had a good day today.
Right. Some people have great, and I've had a good Fridays every Friday so far at Strategy Wars. But if you're the if you're you know the wrong way, you're having a really
it's
bad day.
completely just dropped
And
today, so
yeah, it can be a bloodbath if you're going the wrong way on Fridays. So it can be tough, and it can definitely be, there's definitely usually like some sort of liquidity grab or a fake out that'll happen, and then it just like tears in one direction. And there's really very rarely, and especially the last few weeks, where you're seeing even a pullback to try and get back in, or something like, I don't know what your system is, but like any sort of sign of like relief coming. So I can definitely see how it could do some damage to an account for sure. But if you're finding Fridays are tough for you, and I don't want to say that it's just these Fridays with everything going on in the world, because truthfully, I find that Fridays tend to trend very well. So with NASDAQ particularly, I'm talking about like what you're trading.
could
Um,
depend on when you
so
trade.
yeah, it does depend on the time you're trading, but like, I don't, are you trading during like New York or like mixed into New York?
Yeah, kind of like mixed into New York.
Yeah, so during opening, like the
Yeah.
indices or the futures opening. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
like for me, that's the same thing. And I find that like once they kind of clear opening, that after that first 15 minutes, half hour or so, then they'll just kind of trend like crazy for the rest of Fridays, usually. So like if you're finding Fridays are hard for you, skip them. I personally hate Mondays. So like I skip Mondays. I'll attempt them here and there for strategy wars, but even so, I think I skipped a couple of Mondays already because I was just like, I just don't like Mondays. And like the
Yeah.
Mondays I find difficult. So like don't feel bad about skipping a day. It looks like Ken's talking about skipping maybe Mondays and Tuesdays. So yeah, I mean whatever works for your system. Like if you're testing it out and you're finding you're having these like bad days, then it's the same day every day of the week. It could be that there's something going on. And
Yeah,
I mean like I
I was
think it
gonna
could be
bring
the
that
trending
up.
market for
Do
you.
you
Well,
happen
yes.
to do you happen to have like a back tested day, like maybe the TTF journal or something? Like do you have
Yeah. Well, so yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I I have my DR IDR all tested, and it's not my strategy that's failing me on Fridays. It's my mindset, right? I'm missing trades. I'm missing trades right in front of my face because I'm expecting one thing and the market's telling me another, and I'm also chasing my profit goal. Well, like in the case of today, I was chasing last week's profit goal, which is I definitely shouldn't have been even worried. Those losses are in the past. I should have just
Yeah.
let them be in the past and accepted and been happy with my 2.5% for this week. Because I after I took my 3 losses today, I went back and I looked at the charts and I see very, very obvious trades in the opposite direction that met my entry criteria. I was like, well, I was too blinded expecting the market to go up when it was telling me that it wanted to go down, so
Been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. Don't try not to be
Yeah.
too hard on yourself, but I mean, it sounds like you know what you're doing wrong here. And I'll use this as a really good segue into if you're struggling with some mindset issues, we're moving into Mindset May after Strategy Wars, and we'll be doing some mindset stuff. So maybe it'll be a good chance for you to be like, you know what, let me really like focus on this issue that I identified during Strategy Wars. And it could be Strategy Wars is bringing it out a little bit more, like Sven and I were talking about, like it can bring that part of your trading personality up sometimes, but and it's not the purpose of it, but it does kind of help you to see like where some of your like deeper flaws might be. And I actually am grateful for that sometimes, because sometimes I kind of like, especially like with the experience level I'm at, like I kind of become complacent. So like having like those little things kind of highlighted, I'm like, okay, these are areas I need to work on for myself. So maybe this will be an area for you to work on. And we're going into Mindset May. So maybe
Oh, yeah.
that's
No,
something you can keep track of and work on. But hopefully this will be enough for you to next week go into Friday and be like, I'm gonna behave myself next Friday.
Oh, yeah. Well, luckily I'm still green for the week, so
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
but I do want
matters.
to say I appreciate this this community so much. I entered this community over a year ago now, and I knew nothing about trading, and I went through the
Yeah.
whole
1 year and you're like
Forex
passing accounts and
fiasco.
everything. That's crazy. I wish
Yeah.
it was. I wish I only had 1 year journey.
That's
No,
awesome.
congratulations. I know, right? Everyone who went through a longer journey is like, wow, congrats. But no, congratulations. And for 1 year, that's huge. So the Forex
Thank you.
fiasco, did you switch recently, like in December, to futures?
Yeah, just when the whole U.S.
Mhm.
ban hammer started getting dropped.
Yeah, it sucks. There's only a few of the firms left that I can find right now. Or prop
Yeah,
firms, or there's pretty limited. So, but are
Yeah.
you liking futures, or are
Oh,
you still trying to figure it out?
I love it. I do miss trading GU, the old
Yeah.
Navy style, but NAS just seems to move pretty predictably for the most part. So yeah, I'm loving futures with the low commissions, and I just wish I could do a little more overnight trading, but it's okay.
Yeah, it sucks for
Yeah.
firms. I don't want to tempt you, but I'm pretty sure you can still trade GU futures.
Yeah, I've looked at it. I don't know. I haven't dove into it yet.
It's just you kind of get complacent, and then you're like, how long until they're gonna take that away? That's I get it. As a US person, like I get it. Jay's just like holding down. Like he's also US, and he's like, I am not budging from Forex. Like
Yeah, I had a
refuses.
story today. I'm a little pissed off about it, but I had a
It's slowly
really
starting to sink in that he may
I had
have
a
to like
really
start to
good
look at them.
Bitcoin entry. I got pinged that it had hit under 6K. Also, everybody who cares, happy halving day. It's going to be happening probably in like 7 or 8 hours. Anyway,
If you
but
don't know what crypto is, go check out the
it
crypto
dipped.
course
It
Jay will
dipped
talk about.
under 60K. I got the alert for it. I went on the 1 hour. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I go one of my sketchy prop firms that sells MT4 for the US that I actually have to get payouts in. I go to log in, can't log in there. They apparently switched MT4 brokers. I go try to log in, invalid account. I'm asking them, oh, we're having trouble with merging. I'm like, okay, that would have been nice to get an email that you were merging to a different broker. So it's been crappy. So I got gypped probably a couple hours, a good amount of hours when I would have put that Bitcoin trade in. But hey, that's
Wasn't it like 6,000? No?
uh,
Oh, sorry, not to throw
Don't.
numbers out there. Sorry. Sorry.
don't like Chris.
I
Like
apologize. I'm
I
sorry.
got over it. Okay, and
We'll
now you're
delete that
just
from the
like
recording. Sorry.
Hey, Ashley
No,
wants to
it's
know why you just don't switch to futures.
I
Because he
just
was. Oh, go ahead. I'll,
no.
I'll let Jay. Well, he
No,
was
no,
with
I'll-
firms
I'll-
at
I'll let my
work,
assistant.
so no, yeah, let me handle this for you. I mean, no, yeah, he was with firms that I had asked this question too, but I also understand because like I've also like I'm just a creature of habit, and like I am dabbling with futures. I'm accepting the idea that like, all right, let me start working with some challenge accounts and passing them, because I do need the prop firms. It's like a whole tax thing and I don't want to get into it, but I do need the prop firms to show like personal income versus business income. And that's how I use them like as a contracted worker. I've talked about this in podcasts, and I don't want to get into a whole thing, but yeah, so I do like to have a prop firm or like a couple of them to my name, just to be able to like show consistent income versus just showing like a business income. It gets complicated, but like you guys, if the longer you work in this world for yourself, you'll realize like if you ever try to go to for loans for like a home or cars or anything like that, like you always have to show income. And like if you don't have a way to say you're working like and getting paid out consistently, like it can be a little difficult, and they usually want to see like somewhere between like 2 to 5 years worth of income, and it's just like anyway, you have to show money that maybe you don't want to show. It becomes a whole thing. And if you're in the US, you kind of might know what I mean, what I'm hinting at, but you don't always want to have to show everything. Sometimes you just want to show like enough to get approved for
Chris, this
certain
is
things.
recorded, so
I know, I gotta be
Stop.
quiet. Anyway, so my point is Jay
let's
was
just
also
say
Jay was kind of also leaning in like learning how to like do this stuff, and he was already profitable, and neither of us really like changes. But I was like accepting the fate. Jay has not accepted it yet. He was already with firms that hadn't actually shut down yet,
and
who were
gave
still
me
allowing their
payouts.
US people. And we're still, yeah, but they were getting slower. I told you they were getting a little wonky, but you didn't believe it. Yeah, when they start taking weeks to approve your payout, like that's a little
It just
fishy to
sucks
me.
that futures only has like bank transfers and they don't have other alternative
Jay wants
options.
Bitcoin payouts so he can hide his money. It's okay. We'll talk about it. I'm just kidding.
Okay, Chris, my
I'm
IRS
just
agent's already
kidding.
listening to me, so like, well,
No,
the
no, no,
cat's
no,
out the
no.
bag.
No, but I get it. He was with prop firms where he'd already passed before the whole thing went to like crap. And they were still allowing him, and kind of like I thought like FTMO was going to keep allowing the US people, and they just kind of, it sounds like they're just kind of fizzling them out. Like if you haven't fallen off yet with your live account, like are kind of starting to make it uncomfortable to kind of push out the US people with his firm now. And I know I went through that with FTMO, so yeah, I think it's inevitable that Jay will end up at least looking into futures.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I don't mind futures for a personal account. I just don't like majority of the firms what they're doing. I think they're basically encouraging gambling, in my opinion, because they give you no leverage. And like it can work for a lot of people. I'm not saying it's the horrible thing, but just for me personally, it just you pay a very small fee, but you get very low drawdown to target ratios, and it makes you have to risk more to potentially lose the account to just keep buying them. That's just what I see.
There's like
But
a
if you do
lifetime
have
fee you can
proper
pay,
risk
but yeah.
management, if you do have proper risk management, which a lot of people do, then it may take you longer. And also the thing that Chrissy hates too, I don't like this as well. You can't hold trades overnight.
Yeah, no, that's my biggest grump
That's
right now about them. But you can on a personal account, but I don't really need that. I can still trade my Forex. You know, I still trade on my Forex brokers with my personal account,
but
so
I
that's not a
probably
problem.
will make a futures personal account. I don't hate futures. I just don't like the idea of the firms shafting people comparative to Forex. That's just my
Yeah.
take.
So people talking about Bitcoin, Jay loves to talk about Bitcoin. It's not too late to get into it because the halving cycle is actually where you would be getting in on a good deal of it. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's expensive, but this is like the time where people, if you're in the halving cycle, this is like we're at the point in the halving cycle where like it's gonna go probably as low as it will. So like if you were going to buy in and try and get something like considered like on sale, this would be the time, and then it will like go up in price. Jay loves to talk about crypto, so if you guys have questions about it, feel free to DM him and ask him because he loves it. And he's like super excited about the halving cycle.
Or just talk in the
It's-
crypto chat and I'll answer you.
Yeah.
I did have one off-topic question. I was looking at my results the past few weeks, and well, every day I'm up but that did make me question myself, because when do you guys think you can actually call yourself a profitable trader?
When was that the
When?
question?
Yes.
Like how
is-
long until you can
that-
say you're profitable?
Yes, because you will always have losses, that's for sure. But is there,
Mhm.
how do you guys look onto that? I mean, when do you
So-
call yourself profitable?
So I waited until this is a personal thing. I don't think there's like any. I mean, I never Googled this question. I don't think there's an absolute
There's
answer
different
to
answers
this.
for different people.
But for me, it was after my first full profitable year where I was consistent for the full year, and I actually ended up in the green versus like in the red, which happened for a lot of years before I got profitable. So like, it was once I like had been consistent enough for the full year, and it wasn't like I had one amazing month and then the rest were all crap, and like I just still ended up luckily in the green. It was like I noticed myself becoming more consistent, and like each month I was like making back returns. Like some months I might have been lower or maybe break even, but then like I would have better months that would kind of make up for it. And at the end of the year, once I like was like, oh wow, like I think my first year, I remember I think I roughly earned about 30-ish K from trading. Keep in mind I was working full time, or I mean, I was part time by then, but still I was working part time, and like I still, and then I was making enough between that and then the additional 30 some K that I made from trading. So that was like my first year where I would say it was like, all right, well, that's a pretty substantial amount of extra money to bring in for me in the US, to add on top of my salary that I was already making working. So I was like, that's where I was like, okay, I guess I'm pretty like considered profitable now. Like I'm making a decent amount. And then every year after that, like, I had just kept getting better. Like I would just keep getting more like higher returns at the end of the year. So I definitely look at it more from like a yearly basis point of view. Like at the end of the year, monthly I think is unfair because you can have a bad month. That doesn't mean anything. I think if you're a good enough trader, if you're having a certain amount of bad months, like you stop, you reevaluate your system, you figure out what's going wrong, try to identify it, and then like redesign it or make the tweaks needed to be able to get back into the markets profitably again. And I feel that's why I feel like the year is the better like overall to look at it versus a month, because a month it could just be a strategy is just not good for what's going on in the world that month or the markets that month, and it could be anything. So I try not to do monthly. I mean, but other people might disagree. I don't think passing a challenge once and saying, hey, I passed my challenge and I
getting
got one
a couple
payout.
payouts. At
Yeah, I
least
don't
getting
think
a
one
couple.
payout counts as being like, oh, I'm super profitable. Because like, if you lose the account, the next payout, you're not, so I feel like there's, for me, I look at a year, but you guys feel free to discuss amongst yourselves, like what you guys feel that would be like, what would you look to somebody for to say, hey, I would like be willing to take financial advice and information from this person, or educational advice like from them. Like what would you require, I guess, from somebody to say, hey, that's enough for me to trust them? That's how I would look at it, and I would want to see, hey, at least they've done this for a year or longer.
The year sounds good.
Yeah, which feels hard. I know that like I'm saying that you guys are probably like, oh, that feels like a long time, but I think it's fair to say a year, at least come out in the green. Like I'm not saying you have to have like a ton of money every single month in the green, but at least like have a little profit at the end of the year to say like, hey, I came out profitable. That's my thinking. Anybody think differently?
I would say at least a couple payouts, but yeah, I agree with your 1 year. In that 1 year estimate, I hadn't really been all that profitable of a trader because technically all the money that I've been making from firms have been going into investing. So therefore, I haven't technically made money yet. It's
But
compounding
your
soon.
investments made money.
It's compounding soon.
But your
Yeah.
crypto wallet was up, Jay. I know your money. So like you
Okay,
made
like
I don't
okay,
know why you're
calm
acting
down.
like you didn't make money, but whatever.
Christy's just
Your
trying to
investments made
okay,
money.
we're gonna wrap this up before Christy exposes too much to my
No.
IRS agent guides. It has been a pleasure.
No. Any other questions before we do wrap this up though? Last like round of questions. Yeah, Jay, I won't snitch, don't worry.
Yeah,
Jay's
appreciate
like, I wasn't in the red. I'm like, no, you weren't.
appreciate
He's trying to deduct it.
appreciate
Yeah, right.
appreciate everybody coming through. Duro, I think he had just left, but appreciate him coming on.
Yes,
As always,
thank you,
Dark
Duro.
Fluffy yet again making another
Yes.
appearance. Appreciate you as well.
The rest of
coming.
you, I see familiar faces that were here last week too. If you
Ashley,
guys,
Alex.
want to talk next week, please do. Don't ever feel bad about asking to be unmuted. Like, this is for you guys to come on and talk. But we'll be back again next week on Friday afternoon, same time, same place. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, or if you have like charts, markups like that, you're always free to share them. Just ask, and you can always say, can I share my screen? I've had, a tough week with something. Can you show me where I could have done better or something like that? So definitely feel free to do that. Or you can also, like, we're wrapping it up now, but you could also ping us in the battlefield too and ask, like, your questions if you have certain charts or things that maybe you're like not sure what happened or what you could have done better with, or done differently with, not better, but maybe done differently. Otherwise, guys, congratulations on making it through week 3. So the actual regular season of Strategy Wars. And
The
good
real
luck to
season starts
everybody.
now.
Yeah, good luck to everybody going into the playoffs. And I'm like really hoping to be first place going into the playoffs. I'm like really hoping, Jay. Do your magic.
I'll pull some strings and make sure you
Yeah.
stay second. But with that being said, guys, take care. Have a good weekend,
right.
and hopefully you'll have an amazing week trading next week. Peace.
All right, everybody, have a good weekend. See you guys.